Hey Keys to Fun fans. This week we're going to be talking about playing by ear. Now, it doesn't mean you're playing with your ear. It means you're playing without sheet music. You're hearing a song in your head. Maybe you just heard it in the radio or on the radio in the car, and you want to try to figure out how to play it. And you come over and you just start needling on these notes until the notes sound like they did when you were just hearing it. Now, what we're going to talk about today is the left hand. You can figure out the right hand. Most people, relatively easy, I'll say. It's kind of a hunt and peck until it sounds right, and after a while, you know, you're in the same pitch as what you were listening to. Adding the left hand is a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more of a process behind it, but we're going to cover that today in about a 10-minute or so, a little lesson. And I hope you get something out of it. It's something that I found that if you run with it, it gives you the opportunity to play music when you don't have the sheet music available to you. Either it's not in print or you can't find it. This is a way where you can play something, even potentially write your own music, believe it or not, using this little rule you're going to learn today. All right, so let's go take a look and let me know what you think. So whenever you hear someone talk about playing by ear, I think that it's a bit confusing to hear. I think that the assumption is that that person is playing without any sort of method whatsoever. They're listening to what they're hearing and they're just kind of fumbling around from one key to the next, eventually figuring out the right key to play in. Which, to an extent, playing by ear can kind of be like that. If you have a song in your head and you're trying to figure it out on the keys, there's a lot of errant keys that you may hit in the process of trying to determine what keys I'm supposed to play. But when you're playing by ear, there's still some musical rules that player is going to abide by, whether they know it or not. And the primary one that we're going to talk about today is how to know which chords to play. Many people find that it's kind of easy to noodle around to figure out the notes that you're going to play, but the chords are kind of a different story. If I'm going to play, we'll pick an easy one, When the Saints Go Marching In. I can start on virtually any key to play When the Saints Go Marching In. I can start on C. Well, I could start on G. I could start on a black key. So, I could start anywhere, okay? On any one of the keys I could start and I could play the song such that it would sound like When the Saints Go Marching In, but just in a different key, starting on a different note, ending on a different note. Sometimes you're using white keys when you play songs, sometimes you're using black keys, combination of both. But my point is not to necessarily go over this hand. I think this hand, you hear it a certain way, it's in your head a certain way, and you kind of figure out what way works for this right hand. In other words, in my head, does it sound like this? Does it sound like this? Does it sound like this? So you make that decision. But then, once you've made that decision, how do you know which chords to add? Well, most songs, and I'm going to use the word most, I don't like to use all because I get in trouble when I say all. Most songs gravitate around 3 chords. And the chords are determined by the scale or the key that the song is in. And most often, not always, but I'll even say very often, the key of the song deals with sometimes the first note that you play. For example, When the Saints Go Marching In, if I'm playing in the key of C, my first note is a C. If I was playing in the key of A, my first note would be A. Now, my point is not that you need to necessarily know what key you're in. My point is that in your head, when you're playing it, finding out, well, which notes match what I'm thinking of, inevitably you're going to start on a particular key And very often the key that you start on is the key the song is in. Not always, but often. In the case of When the Saints Go Marching In, it is in fact the case, which is why I chose this one. Now, if I'm in the key of C, there are 3 chords that I play more than any other 3 chords in the key of C, and it's a C, an F, and a G. Now the C, the F, and the G are the 3 main components of the chord. They're also 3 steps in the C scale. The first, the fourth, and the fifth. So the C scale, C to C, all white keys. The 4th and the 5th key in the span of 8 here is the F and the G, and then we start and end on a C. So we got C, F, and G. So when I'm playing a song in the key of C, those are the chords that I am likely to have to play. Whereas if I was starting in the key of G, it would be G, C, and D. If I was in F, it would be F, B flat, and C. Now the way that I know this, again, is because I know my scales. And I know what the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th note in each scale happens to be, and that's what your chord is. And it's a very important thing to know. A lot of students ask, well, why are scales so important? They're important for a variety of reasons. One of the big ones being that once you know your scales and you know how music is constructed, you can then rely less on the music and more on your ear. So if I'm going to play When the Saints Go Marching In the key of C, again, I'm going to play a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord. Okay? Now let me do that again. C, F, G. Listen to what it sounds like with both hands. Now, what did we say about the G? G sounds like this. Well, I told you that the 3 chords in the key of G are G, C, and D. How about A? Okay, here's my A. Now what did I use there? I used the A, the D, and the E. And guess what? The A, the D, and the E are the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th step in the A scale, respectively. So I can start anywhere. I can start in an F. I told you F was F, B flat, and C. The point of this is all that playing by ear, it's a great thing to have in your back pocket. It's something that can be developed, though. I think sometimes that there's this assumption that someone that plays by ear has always been able to play by ear. That's the way that they learned, and either you can't unlearn it and learn in a more traditional sense. There's a benefit to that, obviously. Once you're learning in a more traditional sense and you can read sheet music, the world's your oyster. You don't have to rely on your memory or these rules. You can just read the music, okay? The benefit to being able to play by ear is obviously you don't need the music, but in turn, you need to know some of these musical, I like to call them unwritten rules, but they are written down. And they give you the opportunity, again, once you know them, to start on any note, to play any song, and determine the chords that would likely need to be covered in that song. Now, I chose a relatively easy example this week. They get much more difficult than this, obviously. But the beautiful thing is, again, you play it the way you hear it. You know, if you don't have that sheet music, a lot of people say, can you find me this song? Can you find me that song? And oftentimes I can, but I can't always, okay? But they know what the notes are. Sometimes they'll even say, it goes like this, and they'll hum it, or they'll play the song itself. They'll kind of needle around a little bit. And then the next question is,
How do I add the chords? Well, this is how we add the chords, okay? You need to know the key. Oftentimes the key is based upon the note that you start on. Not always, but often. Once you know that, then you can figure out the 3 most common chords that are played, which are, again, the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th note in the scale. In the case of C, again, C, F, G. Okay? In the case of A, D, E. In the case of G, G, C, D. In the case of F, B flat, C. You can start on any key, you can end on any key, but by knowing that general rule, you're not limited to only playing music that you're looking at. You can play music that you're thinking of and figure out the chords that way. I hope that makes sense. A bit of a less playing, more explaining this week, but I thought it'd be well worth it.
Thanks a lot, gang. I hope you got something out of the lesson today. I know it was a little less playing and a little bit more speaking this week, but I hope it was well worth your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, there are a multitude of ways that you can reach out to us. You can reach us via email. If you email us, our address is info@keystofunmusic.com. KeysToFunMusic.com is also our website. You can go there and look at some of the products that we have for sale. You can see all of our prior videos listed in the blog section, including the buttons and tabs that we do once a month. It's an hour-long class that I do live on Facebook, but then it's placed on our website thereafter. So in the event you don't have Facebook, you can go watch it after that point, and you can fast forward through all the boring parts till you get to the part that you like. Okay, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is what you're watching this on right now, and if you do any of these things, be it subscribing to our website or the YouTube channel, you will be updated when a new lesson is posted, which is generally about once a week. Okay, our phone number, if you'd like to reach out to us for any reason, is area code 401-277-9800. We're located in Johnston, Rhode Island at 1665 Hartford Avenue. And we'd love to have you come down and get a lesson yourself live. We also have a bunch of equipment here that we'd be more than willing to introduce you to and answer any questions that you do have. Keys to Fun is a Lowry and Yamaha Clavinova dealer, and we are authorized to teach on these instruments as well, and we love to do it. Okay, thank you very much for your time this week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.